she could figure it. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Shoftim class sponsored by Hadassah, Lavona chapter in Modi'in. We're glad that you're here with us this morning. And our class is being sponsored by Carol Cobb in memory of her husband, Chaim Moshe Ben Ruvain. And she tells us that he was a wonderful man and that she thought he was pretty great. And so we're very thankful that she has decided to memorialize him at this time of his yahrzeit with us here in Hadassah. And don't forget, if you're watching out in TV land or computer land in the wide world of the web, you can donate money to your tzedakah money can go to Hadassah Hospital, Lavona chapter. You can call Sandy Wine, Xenia Cohen, or any of the lovely ladies who will be glad to part you and your money for tzedakah. So please consider making a donation anytime there's a simcha or a yahrzeit or any other occasion. So thank you very much, Carol. We're going to start. Oh, we didn't actually start. I did make our bracha, so everybody join me in the bracha this morning for our learning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Torah. That we should occupy ourselves with Torah learning. Gives us strength, gives us wisdom, and it gives us courage. It gives us knowledge to fight whatever is out there, because when we know things, we're better for it. Today, in our Shoftim class.
Sorry, public service announcement. There are a few people who aren't muted. They should check to see who's muted.
Okay. So if you'll mute yourself, but when I call your name, if you would help me read some things, that would be great. So last week we were talking about the shofet, the judge, called, his name was Yiftach.
Yitzchak.
Yiftach, not Yitzhak. Yiftach.
How do you spell it?
Yiftach. Yiftach. In English, it looks like Japhet, but in Hebrew, it's Yiftach. Maybe you recall many years ago, an author, Naomi Reagan, I believe, wrote a book called Yiftach's Daughter. Now, it wasn't about the biblical Yiftach, but I don't even remember what it was about. However, Yiftach was the judge at the time of a war with the Ammonites. And just to give you, for those of you who are not with us last week and did not see the video of last week's shir, a very, very quick overview from a review from last week. Yiftach was the son of Gilead in the province of Giladi, like Eliyahu HaGiladi, same place. And he was from the tribe of Manasseh, and he was the son of a prostitute. Okay. Now, his brothers felt that he was not adequate to be in the family, and they basically threw him out of the family. So he flees to a place called the land of Tov. We know Tov to mean good. There's actually no place recorded on a map like that, but it could indicate it was a good place. could be a metaphorical kind of a place that was good for him.
Right.
So it was in the story, he lives in this place, and the Ammonites are really causing terrible distress among the people, and they are actually, the Jewish people the Hebrews, the Israelites are having their time with this group of people that are constantly at their throats, and the elders, meaning the brothers of yiftach, calls him and says, listen, we need you to come back to lead us in battle and to help us rid ourselves of the Ammonites. Well, yiftach is a little smarter than that, and he says, look, I'll come. It's okay. I don't mind coming. However, once I win the battle for you, you can't throw me out of the house again. You can't get rid of me. And they come to an agreement, and yiftach is basically hired to do the job. He comes back, and on the way to battle, does anyone remember what happened with yiftach?
Well, he makes that
It's a
vow.
vow.
It's the vow that, which I don't understand, because I watched the recording yesterday. I don't understand how he could have made such a stupid vow.
Exactly.
That's what I don't understand.
Okay, so
Whoa.
let's take a look. Let's take a look at yiftach's vow. Okay, I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we're going to take a look at it. All right. All right, so here's the vow. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's Linda, can you read the English for us? This is yiftach.
Right. And Yiftach vowed a vow to the Lord and said, if you will indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, and it will be whatever comes forth that shall come forth from the doors of my house towards me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall be to the Lord, and I will offer him, and you notice it's a person, offer him up for a burnt offering. How did he do that? I don't get it. And Yiftach vowed a vow to the Lord. Oh, and it will be, where are we? Oh,
That's all.
and it will be,
That's it.
That's
You read
it.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
You read
right.
the whole thing. Okay, so that was his vow. If you, Hashem, if you, Lord, will guarantee that I will be the winner of this battle with the Ammonites, then whatever comes through the door of my house on my return, I will offer him. Could be also an it for a burnt offering. Now you notice over here I have olah under that, a korban olah, an elevated offering. Usually an offering of possibly Thanksgiving. It will be a burnt offering, a sacrifice. Okay. Now it says, whatever comes through the door, portals of his home, then that shall be for the Lord. He's gonna identify that as giving to the Lord whatever comes out of the door to greet him as a burnt offering. Now, it
How
is,
stupid can you get?
well, nobody said he was brilliant, but usually the people who are chosen to be the judges of the time have knowledge of Torah as well as military capabilities. Now, we weren't there when we certainly didn't see what was going on. However, today I want to talk about how it is so important for us to be careful with our words.
Right.
When we say things in life, when we make vows or oaths, we have to be extremely careful with our words. And we have to understand the implications of what we say every day of our lives. There's no doubt in my mind that when God talks, when we talk about Lashon Hara,
Right.
that not just about words about somebody else, that we are talking gossip, we're talking, petty kinds of conversation because we have nothing else to say. So we talk about other people, other things, other whatever it is, and we make either little of it or we're jealous of it, or there's all kinds of emotions involved in the words that we say with our lashon, with our language and our tongue. So we have to be very, very careful. And the higher up we are in the strata of a society, if we're the baker, if we're the butcher, if we're the plumber, if we're the electrician, that's one thing. That's one level of the population. But when you become an official of the people, when you become the judge of people, then you must be more careful with your words. And you have to make sure that what you say is not only a correct thing to say, but it can't be harmful, it can't be negative to both God and humans, and it can't be offensive. We have so many ways to look at what we say. Even today, with our social media, when we talk on social media, we have to still be very careful because people will read your words in a WhatsApp, in an email, in a message, and they will interpret your words most likely in the worst way possible, or they'll take offense quicker than they will turn it into something positive. Sometimes we say things on social media and to each other. When we're face to face, we can see each other's expressions. But when we aren't and we're writing something, it is very difficult to determine what those things we're writing actually mean and what's the implication of what we're writing. So if we're going to talk about the consequences, that when Yiftach won the battle, he won the war, and on his way home, he was celebratory, he was joyous, and when he gets to his property, his home, the first thing that comes out of the door of his home, was his only child, his daughter, his only child, and she ran out to hug him and to welcome him home as any child or any wife or any son would have done. So what was it with Yiftach's words that we find so difficult to understand?
Rhonda,
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I think because it's possible that because he was estranged from his family for so long, and if he hung out with people that weren't Torah people, that he really didn't understand what a vow meant in terms of, well, I really have to do it. it's possible. I mean, you said that there's no history of that, but that's what I would think, that he just didn't have it in his mind. He wasn't Torah minded.
Okay. I didn't say he didn't have it, he wasn't educated. We don't really know, but he certainly didn't act in a smart way when he made this vow. Now, I want to talk about the consequences here. When the daughter comes out, can you imagine how he felt, remembering instantaneously that he had made a vow that whatever came out of his front door to greet him, or what at first would be for a burnt sacrifice to God? Can you imagine
No,
he felt? No,
no.
no, terrible.
Rhonda,
Yes,
Rhonda, in those days, were we allowed to make human sacrifices?
no.
Here goes.
We're
So,
gonna no.
so
I mean,
if
yeah, and that's exactly, that's question is perfect as a segue into this today's lesson. Were the Jews allowed to make human sacrifices? Absolutely not, and that is what we're going to eventually get to here. So let's take a look. I'm going to talk today about the fact that there are two types of vows or oaths, and I want you to see what this says, okay? So Rita, read this, right? Okay.
in Judaism, a neder is a vow or oath. The neder may consist of it looks like something's missing.
Wait a minute.
May consist of performing some act in the future or abstaining from a particular type of activity of the person's choice. The concept of the neder and the Jewish law related to it is described at the beginning of the Parshat of Matot.
Okay. So in addition to being an oath that where something has to happen, it's almost as if you say, God, if this can happen, then this will be the consequence, or this will happen as a result of the first promise. So in Yiftach's case, he says, if God, you give me victory, then I will give you a burnt offering. Okay, the details are in the vow, but that's basically what was being said. That was a vow. Now let's read this. This was from Or Sameach, and I want you to know that there's two different kinds of vows. So we're only going to talk about a neder. A neder is a vow, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Go ahead. You want to read this also?
The Torah exhorts man to keep his word and identifies two types of verbal utterances which must be followed: a neder and a shuvah. Numbers 30, pasuk
Okay, that's
3.
okay. Go ahead.
The word neder is commonly translated as a promise, while shuvah is commonly translated as an oath. This rendering implies
It's called a shavuach. A shavuach. A shavuach.
shavua.
Okay,
Shavua.
go ahead.
Rendering implies that the two words are basically synonymous, with the shavuach being a more serious type of neder. However, the Talmud Nedarim understands that neder and shavuach are two different types of verbal expressions, and each must be dealt with on its own terms.
Okay. Now, in the Torah, and we actually have learned this many years ago, when we were talking about making a vow, that if a husband hears his wife making a vow and he feels that it is not in the best interest of the wife or the family, the minute he hears her utter this vow, he can go and get it annulled. There are other laws and rules and regulations concerning vows, nedarim, both in the Torah and in the Talmud, and Gemara talks about it. So we learn that a vow can be annulled. What is it that we do on Yom Kippur, on a Kol Nidre? What's the first thing we say on Kol Nidre? Anybody?
That any vows that we made are annulled as of that moment.
That's right. Any vows that we've made and
Yes.
promises, etc., can please God annul these. Now, how can we annul and void these a vow that's been taken? It's very possible that, let me see if I have this. I'm starting to look at it while you're on here. Here, let's read this. Who wants to read? Anybody? Xenia, go ahead, read.
Okay, the vow becomes an expression of steadfast faith that Hashem will not disappoint, even when the situation may seem less than optimistic or positive. We may even go so far as to argue that a vow undertaken in such circumstances demonstrates humility on the part of the one who so affirms, as if they themselves recognize that they do not possess sufficient merit to deserve divine favor, if not for the power of the pledge to secure a loan.
Do you understand that? That a person could very easily feel that I myself am not worthy. Let's take yiftach. I'm not worthy enough, strong enough, smart enough, whatever enough to win this war, God. But if you give me this battle, if you give me the success in this battle, then I will show my appreciation to you. And that's exactly what it means here, that this vow has the power, this pledge to get a loan. In other words, I will give you something in return for what you give me. And that's what a loan is, basically. You know, you borrow something and then you give back. Now, in the case of yiftach, he was gonna give whatever walked out of his house first. Now, here, let's read what can happen if you make a neder. Go ahead, Linda. Can you read for us, please? Can't hear you. All right, Linda, unmute yourself. All right. Okay, Linda, we can't hear you.
I can do it if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
A neder may be annulled by either a Beit Din, court of Jewish law, composed of at least 3 adult men, or single-handedly by a Talmid Chacham Torah scholar. Either one must ask the individual who originally made the neder why they now wish to have their neder annulled.
Now, this could have happened to yiftach. He could have he could have gone to a Torah scholar or to a Beit Din, or he could have gone to, at the time, Shiloh, where the Mishkan was, and talked to the Kohen Gadol about this, about annulling the vow instead of sacrificing his daughter. Now, there is a split in opinion.
Rhonda, I think you're frozen.
Rhonda,
I am? Okay. All right, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now you're back.
I'm
Okay,
back? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Yes.
Okay, there is a split in opinions by the commentary, the rabbis over the ages. The split, what do you think? The split is he didn't actually kill her and offer her as a burnt sacrifice. The other group says, of course he did. It says exactly that he would do it, and he does. And in the text at the end, it says that he does what he promised Hashem. So if we are to believe the text, then he did. Now, why didn't he go and get this annulled? This is a good question. I asked my husband
Yeah.
Aaron, who knows a few things, and
yeah.
he says there's no answer. Why didn't he do it? I don't know. There's no good answer. There's conjecture on for every commentator, but there's no good answer. Why didn't he get this annulled? Now,
You
yeah,
know, Rhonda, there's something that bothers me. Even if you make a neder, if you make a neder on something that that you can't do, for instance, offering a human life,
right.
that it really, the neder is annulled or is void to begin with.
Well, you would think so, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Hang on. Oh, hang on. We're getting there. Do I have time for all this? I hope so. Okay, so here, this is one of the commentaries say, and this paragraph is what? Midrash, not
Ah,
text, not text.
Midrash.
Okay, it's Midrash. You know how I feel about Midrash, but it's a very good example of a question here that many of you are considering. So let's read this. Zamira,
Yeah.
go
At
ahead.
that time, God was very angry with yiftach. He said, if a dog or a pig or a camel would come out of his house, would he offer it before me? Therefore, he arranged that it be his daughter. What was all this? So that all those who took vows would learn the laws of vows, so as not to act mistakenly with vows.
Okay, do you see why this is Midrash? Because certainly God did not become so angry and punish him and make his daughter. God would not make his daughter come out of the front door. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so this is like a commentator's response to that. The second thing is, if God says if in an angry tone, well, okay, God didn't get angry, but he says a camel, a dog, a pig, all those are not kosher animals, so they wouldn't be offered as a korban. So Kol v'chomer, if a dog, a pig, and a camel, all not kosher animals, would come out of this front door to greet him, the first thing, he couldn't give that as a sacrifice because it's not kosher. So,
Ah,
so if something that's not kosher comes out of the front door to greet him, then like his daughter, how could he make that daughter into a burnt offering? So that's the point of this midrash, that how come he could make this daughter a sacrifice, certainly something that's forbidden by God to do. So that's the question that's asked. That's what Rita's asking. Do we believe in human sacrifices? And the answer again is explicitly no.
no.
Okay? Now, let's go, and I'm going to try and hold on. I actually wanted to show you other vows that were given, made in the Torah because they're famous. How many do you think there would be in the Torah? How many vows do you actually remember in the Torah? There might be, tens of tens in the Torah, and certainly in all of Tanakh, lots of them. So let's talk about for a moment, okay, what about this particular vow. I'm going to try and okay. Now, there are 3 notable vows in the Torah that I want to talk to you about, but there are others as well. One is, thank you. I sneezed on the truth. Okay. One vow that is a very popular, famous vow was when Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, remember, Abraham needs a wife for his
Yitzchak.
son, Yitzhak. Okay, Yitzhak wasn't getting any younger, and he didn't have a wife, so he says, "Go to my family, and find me a wife for my son." And what does Eliezer do? He says his vow is, and I think I'm going to put this on the screen so you can actually see it. Okay, here we go. Here, the first was Eliezer, the servant of Abraham. Okay, I'm calling on the same people to read. If anyone else, Donna, do you want to read this for me, please? You there? Okay, Eileen, you want to read this?
Sure. Four biblical figures, that one?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
The first was Eliezer.
Oh, the first was Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, for he stated that the maiden to whom I shall say, "Tilt, please your pitcher, so that I might drink," and she shall respond, "Drink, and I will also water your camels. You have proven her to be the one for Yitzchak." And what
Okay,
if she would have?
go ahead.
And what if she would have been a Canaanite maidservant or a prostitute? Nevertheless, God brought about that it was Rivka.
Okay. Lucky for Eliezer. You see, some of these vows can be pretty tricky here, and the text here is pointing that out. What if he says, "How will I know that I will pick the right one? What's the criteria?" And he creates the criteria for his vow that if somebody comes out and waters his camels and offers him water, in his mind, making that vow was kindness. That's what was in his mind, Eliezer's mind, kindness and welcoming, which was what Abraham and Sarah was always noted for. So in Eliezer's mind, from the household he came from, this was a perfectly good vow. And for him to think of kindness and offering chesed and comfort was a completely natural thing. So he says, the one who offers me water and gives my camels, because that's hard work. Because getting the water out of the well and putting it for the camels, it's a big schlep. So not only does she have to be kind and compassionate, she has to have koach, she has to have strength, and she has to be willing to do something that's difficult in her kindness, not just something easy. And he says, if she does that, she's the one. It could have been, who knows, that Nowadays, who knows what could have come and offered water, you know? A
Mhm.
transgender woman could have come out and offered water and lifted up all the buckets and everything. Who knows what? So do you see how important our words and our vows are? Now let's go to the next example.
Rhonda,
Yeah.
Rhonda,
Yeah.
there's also, you have to remember that Hashem is behind everything that happens,
Mhm.
and therefore he made it happen that way. That it was
Sure.
somebody that was kind. Just in the other way that he made it happen, that it was somebody walked out that wasn't allowed to be a part of a vow like that. So you have to, if we look at it with Hashem behind everything, then it's a different,
Prospect.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Good point. Well taken. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Eileen, you want to read this one?
Sure. The second was Kale, for he stated that I shall give my daughter Achsa in marriage to the one who shall capture Kiryat Sefer. And what if he would have been a Canaanite or else a slave? Nevertheless, God brought about that it was Otniel.
Right. Remember Othniel ben Kenaz? He was the first judge. Remember Kalev? He says, he was the head of the tribe of Judah at the time. You remember that this is in the third chapter of Shoftim. We've arrived. All the tribes have been dispersed. They've gone where they need to go. And now it's time to get rid of all of the Canaanites. And each tribe is being tested to get rid of these Canaanites so that they will not do several of the horrible things that God has promised will happen. One, if the Canaanites are not gotten rid of, then you will probably intermarry with them. And when you intermarry with them, you will probably take on their gods. And if you take on their gods, what's the big sacrifice that you will do? Human sacrifices to their gods. This is the key. So Kalev says to the tribe of Judah, and he pairs up with Shimon, the tribe of Shimon, and he says, we've got to rid ourselves of the Canaanites. Who will help me rid the Canaanites? Othniel ben Kenaz steps forward, and he is a real tzaddik, and he becomes the first judge in Shoftim. So he successfully, it worked out that Kalev says he makes a vow that he'll give his daughter to the person who helps him capture Kiryat Sefer, which was the area in Judah in the south that was under siege. Okay, another, and this is very, very important. Now look at this one. A third example here. Zamira, you want to read this one?
Yeah. The third was King Shaul, for he stated that the one who strikes him, Goliath, down shall be given great wealth by the king, and he, the king, shall also give him his daughter. And what if he...
Interestingly enough, look at all these. Do they all include a daughter?
Yeah, isn't that something? What if he didn't have a daughter and he just had a son? What would he do?
Don't know. I don't know. Go ahead.
And what if he would have been an Ammonite, a Canaanite, or a Masmer, offspring of an adulterous or incestuous relationship? Nevertheless, God...
A mamzer.
Mamzer.
Go ahead.
Nevertheless, God brought about I can't see what that says. But about
That it was David.
that something was David.
Yeah.
I can't see to the right.
To the right, that it was
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
So here again, King Shaul, when they're fighting the Philistines, he says he's overcome by the fact that Goliath, this giant of the Philistines, is standing in the valley between the two warring peoples, the Israelites and the Philistines, and here's this giant ridiculing and degrading and bashing God and the Jewish people, and Shaul is really taken aback. He doesn't know what to do, so he needs somebody to step up to the plate to kill this giant. And who does that? He offers up his daughter and great wealth to whoever can slay the giant.
Mhm.
And it happened to have been David. And those of you who had learned in the beginning Tehillim with me and about in Shmuel about the relationship between David and Shaul was terrible relationship. But he gave his daughter Michal to David. So here is this vow. Now again, and then the text here talks about yiftach. Okay, let's just read it again. Go ahead.
The fourth was yiftach, for he stated that which shall go forth from the portals of my house to greet me when I return in peace from Bnei Ammon will be for God, and I shall offer it as a burnt offering. Ugh.
Go ahead.
And what if it would have been a camel, a donkey, or a dog? Would he still have offered it? This time, however, God responded by bringing about that it was his own daughter.
Okay. Now, I personally have a hard time thinking that every single action in the world is caused by God. I am of the rational Torah school, and I suppose that's why I teach text as opposed to midrash. And I'm using the I because I want you to understand this is my perspective. You are welcome to choose the perspective that you feel is important and works for you. But that's why I hesitated, Rita, to agree with you when you said everything happens by God. I sort of take a step back and say that God puts everything out there on the stage, and we as the actors have to create the environment and the circumstances for which things happen. Yes, there are times when the hand of God is very apparent to us. And yes, there are times when we wonder where God is. And so consequently, I want to make this clear to all my beautiful neshamas who are listening to me in my class and those who will subsequently listen to this video. My opinion is that God did not make his daughter be the first one to come out. And in addition, the other examples were very fortuitous in how they happened. There were circumstances behind each one of these, and I believe that while God may have been there, as part of the Ruach HaKodesh, I don't think he's moving us around like chess players. That's my opinion.
I was
Okay.
going to say, could this be a test? From God's point of view, give him a test to see if he's going to follow through. If he knows that it's his daughter, he knows he shouldn't do it.
Right. Well,
We don't know.
the truth of the matter is, we think that he should have known, but in the passion of the moment of
Yeah.
war, he needed that extra oomph to give him strength to be successful, and that promise, that vow, that if God would help him succeed, then he would do something tremendous in return. And he certainly didn't think it was going to be his daughter, but clearly he could have said, the first thing that comes out of the barn would have been, certainly would have been an animal,
Yeah.
or a slave, somebody else.
Mhm.
Why does he say the front door of his house? Could have been the whole family. So there is a reason that I'm trying to show you all of this, and we're going to continue. Hold on one second. I want to show you. Please give me a second, because I have all these notes and I'm trying to get to where I want. Okay. All right, I'm going to show you this. Here we go. Okay. Xenia?
Sure. Does the infamy of the Canaanites become the reason for this chapter in Shoftim? Now the Canaanites, it will be recalled from our earlier studies, were technologically more advanced, politically more astute, and culturally more aware than their Israelite neighbors. But none of that enlightenment seems to have been translated into a heightened moral sensitivity. Is it ever? Over and over again, the Torah wages a war of words against the Canaanite infatuation with idolatry, sexual immorality, magic, and cruelty. But the most serious indictment against their societies is stated in the following passage, and it concerns of all things the act of worship. When God your Lord extirpates from before you these nations, whose lands you go in to possess, and you shall drive them out and dwell in their land, then be very careful lest you be ensnared by them after they have been destroyed from before you. Do not inquire after their gods, saying, just as these nations serve their gods, so too shall I. Do not do so to God your Lord, for all the abominations that God hates, they perform for their gods, for even their sons and daughters they burn in the fire to their gods. So they were doing a lot of human sacrifices.
This
at
is
that
the
time.
this is the reason for this story in Shoftim.
Mhm.
We, the Jewish nation, became so involved with the Canaanites, and we did not destroy them. And what God is saying, when you, the Jewish people, go into a land, a country, a city, a state, it doesn't matter where you go, whether it's a home in your own homeland or in the diaspora, when you go, if you take on the customs of the other nations and you don't insulate yourself against them, then you will intermarry. And when you intermarry, you take on the culture and the mores and the habits of all that they do, whether it's eating or drinking or religious occupations or the way you treat people, or kill people, or have sexual immorality, or cheating, or cruelty. And in big, bold letters in the Torah, it says the abomination that God hates the most that these people perform is to give their children, their sons and their daughters, as burnt offerings to their gods. That is the reason for this story, that yiftach, and this yiftach is towards the end. I would say he's probably, the period of Shoftim is 400 years approximately. So he's like in maybe the 300-year period of assimilation, intermarriage, involvement with still not understanding that you get rid of these horrible people. And this is one of the main points of what God commands the people to do before they go into Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Canaan. Get rid of those people. And so he was so ingrained in the Canaanite culture, the Ammonite, all the ites, the Zidonites, the Amorites, the Edomites, everybody whose culture was an abomination to God in the worst way. You get it by the tone of my voice, how horrible these things that they did were. That yiftach, the story and the vow, point out that he was not thinking as a Jew, he was thinking as a Canaanite, an assimilated person. And I and many of the Mefarshim believe that the reason he felt that vow was okay because he felt he could make a burnt sacrifice from a human being. It says him comes out of the door, then this is the kind of society that he was living in, and it shows how far the Jews had gone down in their involvement in Torah life and an insular Hebrew Jewish life, as opposed to the integration, assimilation, and intermarriage with the Canaanite culture and all the other horrible cultures around them. So this, my friends, my dear, dear friends, has not changed one iota since this time to now. If you and I take a look at every place that we are from, and many of us are from all over the world, you will see that intermarriage and assimilation in all the countries we are from has taken from us, from the Jewish nation, millions of our people, and has separated them from what is right and wrong, and following God, one God, as opposed to following the God of all the different temptations there are throughout the world. It hasn't changed. That vow could have been made today, and not that that person would have made a burnt offering of their child, but it would be something else just as abominable. This is why we as Jews have to understand why God wanted a place for us without the influence of others, without the culture and the terrible things that other people were were involved in back then and for all times. And we certainly haven't gotten to that point yet in our existence as a Jewish nation. So I hope that you understand that all these vows, all the understanding of what it means to use our words and to make promises that have such terrible consequences, such potential terrible consequences, it's important for us to understand where some of this comes from. And I hope now that you understand that the person who was called upon to be the judge of the time had been basically, in my estimation, and many of the Mefarshim, compromised. He was compromised because he had become so much a part of the Canaanite culture that this vow didn't set off an alarm in his head. And he didn't change it, nor did he go for an annulment of the vow. And this is, my friends, what we have to be careful of, be wary of. We have to separate ourselves from the terrible temptations out there, the terrible assimilations, our children, grandchildren, and hope and pray that in Eretz Yisrael, things can become a much better situation, circumstances for us, but we always have to keep our guard up. We can never drop our guard in regard to others and other outside influences. And I believe that that's the story and the reason for the story of Yiftach. Any questions, comments? Please feel free. Anybody?
Oh, Rhonda, can I make a quick announcement as far as, and do you want to make your announcement first?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I wanted to mention that Lavona chapter of Hadassah, we had put out a word asking for donations a few weeks ago for women at risk. And I wanted you to know that a week ago, Tuesday night, a few of our members did an event for 60 women from Mevo Haron, whose husbands have basically been away for the whole war. And most of these women have like 6 to 8 children and never really got a chance to have an enjoyable evening out. And we had 5 massage therapists who donated their time. And the women got, if they wished to, most of them did get 15-minute massages through their clothes, to some soft music. They had dinner. The Rav of the Yeshuv spoke for a few minutes. And they had gifts that they went home with. We also had door prizes, and everybody got gifts. And besides just having a good time to socialize with their friends, the husbands of these women actually made videos on their phones and sent them into this woman from the Yeshuv, and she made a wonderful, wonderful video of all of these husbands speaking. It was a big surprise to the women. And it was like 25 minutes of just watching all of these men just saying wonderful things about their wives. And it was very, very touching. And everybody was clapping and happy and smiley. And the women just had a break for a few hours, not to worry about all the things that they've had dumped on them since they've been, one woman said that she had her baby and her husband only has seen the baby for 2 Shabbatot for, the baby's 3 months old now. And, they came up to us afterwards. And so anybody who did contribute to that special Women at Risk Fund, we thank you very, very much for that. It was a big, big success. Those women were so thrilled to enjoy that evening out. I wanted to also mention that on starting January 1st of 2024, all of our donations are going for equipment for the new rehabilitation center at Hadassah Mount Scopus. This is life-changing equipment. And we know, unfortunately, there's a great need for this because there are so many IDF war wounded people who are going to need this type of equipment. So that's been our big push now. And then, so thank you. And Rhonda, I'll let you do the other thing that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, I'm going to show you. You will be receiving this flyer this afternoon in your email. Please, please, please make sure that you register immediately. There is a wonderful new women's singing group called Kol HaNeshama who will be performing for us on March 3rd. Which is a Sunday evening. Doors open at 7. The concert will start at 7:30. It's a women's only concert. It'll be at Yad Labanim, which we've had several lovely programs at before. And the admission is 100 shekels, but there are other opportunities to give sponsorship, get tickets included in that. And if you see this, it says all proceeds go to the purchase of state-of-the-art, a life-changing therapeutic rehabilitation equipment for war-wounded IDF soldiers and others at the Rehabilitation Center of Hadassah Medical Center. This is a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for you to come and have a lovely evening. It's as if you're at a Broadway musical when you go to this show. The singing is professional. It is outstanding. And everybody should bring their daughters, their granddaughters, their great-granddaughters to this performance and join in support of this Hadassah program. So mark your calendars. You'll get this in the mail today. March 3rd for a Hadassah benefit concert. Kol HaNeshama, these are the women. They're from all over the country and they are outstanding. I have seen them perform. And it's like I said, it says from biblical music to pop music, all meaningful. And they talk about stories that concern themselves and their husbands, their sons, their brothers in the war. And they do this to raise money for organizations so that we can move forward with helping our country. Coming to this concert is an act of patriotism and tzedakah, all wrapped up in one. So please mark your calendar, March 3rd. No excuses. Please be there. You'll have a wonderful time. You'll cry, you'll laugh, you'll enjoy yourself, and you'll come out inspired, totally inspired. So I hope that you will mark your calendars and come. Thank you very much. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. And I hope and pray that we will have good news like we had yesterday, that with the IDF rescuing to the soldiers. Kol hakavod to them. May Hashem bless each and every one of those soldiers who did those amazing, amazing rescue, and he should bless all of our chayalim and chayalot. And have a good week, my dear friends, and thank you for joining the shir. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Amen. Thank you, Rhonda.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Marking it in the color diary.
Okay.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Okay, take good care. March 3rd, remember the date.
Thank
Just
you.
mark it in.
Mark it down. Bring
Right,
everybody
thanks.
you know. Okay, take it easy. Bye-bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Take care. Thank you.